Woohoo!
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Orr Umbrella Podcast. My name is Jonathan Orr.
I'm Michael Orr.
That's where you say it. There you go. That's where you see your name. Today, oh my goodness, today we are so happy. We are so honored. We are in the presence of a legend. True legend. One of my favorite actors, Joe Estevez. Thank you so much for coming on.
Gentlemen, my goodness, thank you for those kind words. I appreciate it, and I'm honored to be here. It's I love the talk, so you give me this avenue. I appreciate it, and nice to. And you two are brothers, is that right? You, Michael, and Jonathan are brothers.
Last time we checked, yes.
Okay, all right. I hosted two shows as a host, Hollywood Joe and All Things Catholic. And so forgive me if I start interviewing you while you're interviewing me, okay?
No, well, this is all about you, so we're okay with that.
All right, okay.
Any way you want it to go. So I have to say, what inspired me to have you on the show today is I was over at my uncle's house, and we were sitting there, figuring out what to do. He's like, "Hey, you want to watch a movie?" I'm like, "Sure." I'm like, "What do you got?" He's like, "Well, I've got something from Mystery Science Theater. It's called Roller Gator."
Oh no!
And so we watched Roller Gator, and the whole time I'm like, "Man, this Joe Estevez guy, he brings this movie up. Very few people could." And so after Roller Gator, I asked him, "You got any more Joe Estevez movies?" And we watched 4 movies. We watched Baby Ghost.
Oh God.
Sanford Psycho.
Yeah. Okay.
And we watched Soul Taker.
Oh. Okay. All right. Yeah.
And yesterday I watched Werewolf, and I watched some of the stuff he did with Adult Swim. So I have been on a Joe Estevez binge lately, and I'll tell you what, it's been an enjoyable ride. I absolutely love your acting and what you bring to the screen. So
wow, Jonathan, thank you so much for that. Wow. Well, how can I follow that? But I'm going to try. It's funny with. In a couple of those movies you mentioned, Roller Gator and Baby Ghost. I don't know if you are familiar with the legendary Don Jackson, who passed about maybe 10 years ago now. But those were his films, and gosh, I just loved working with Don. And a lot of people have said to me, and they still say it to me, that I should do, work half as much and charge twice as much for my services. But, I really do what I do because I enjoy it immensely. And at the very least, I'm bringing some entertainment into the world. And maybe, there are times maybe when I've enhanced somebody's life. So I've never in my acting, I don't even want to call it a career, but in all my movies, I've just gone from one film to the next. I've never, the only thing I consider, do I like the people? Am I going to have fun playing this part? And, and I do like to get paid, and if all that is in line, then I'll do the film. But that's, I'm working with a couple of gentlemen now. I did a film, I'm Melting, and the other one, Death by Jelly Beans. And, James Brasamo, I think is his name. And I just love working with these guys. They do horror, tongue-in-cheek horror. and it's always a little over the top, and it's always just great fun. And I love working with them. I mean, they're just great guys. I have a good time. What else do I need to make my life happy? Yeah. But
and it's rewarding to you, then that's all it needs to be. Michael, you got the first official question for us, sir?
Yes, absolutely. We'd like to start off with sort of a silly question. And our silly question, considering it's almost Halloween, is this. So, with Halloween rapidly approaching, if you could have a role in one of these iconic horror franchises, which would it be and why? And the choices are Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, or Child's Play.
I'd be amiss. Can I be very honest with you guys? I haven't seen any of those films. Wow. So my role in them is, but I you guys said that you saw Soul Taker, I love scary films. I don't like violent films.
Sure.
I would love to. There's an old film, the original, The Haunting. I would have loved to have a role in that. Because that kind of film relies on the talent of the actor and the power of the script, rather than the easy out with the violence and the blood and that kind of eye candy, which I think that most of the horror movies are leaning to now. I was talking to a friend of mine, and he said Chainsaw Massacre. He said the original, and I didn't see it because I thought it was going to be violent. But he said it's not a violent movie at all, but the intended violence is what scares you, And the reason why I didn't see it was because I thought it was going to be incredibly violent. I stay away from violent things. I know I've done a few horror movies that have been violent, but the older I get and the more aware I get, I tend to stay away from those. But please, forgive the person who asked that question. My apology. I wish I could give you an honest answer, but the hell with it. I'm too old to lie. So okay.
That's good. That's a good answer, because sometimes the acting, like Alfred Hitchcock, is a lot scarier than some of those other things, because it messes with your mind. And I was listening to an interview with him, and he said it's the mental thing. It's the
absolutely
imagination that scares you more than anything.
Yeah, and that's when the real craft of filmmaking comes into play. Alfred Hitchcock was Psycho. Oh yeah. You see that knife and you see that blood in the shower, but it's not going into any human being. It's not, but just what your mind perceives. Rosemary's Baby. What's your mind? It's. I think that's the field where we as actors or entertainers should play in. I think that's we don't need to be out there doing all this violence, and it's not what actors are meant to do.
Totally.
That's what we have war for. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I'm glad you said that. That's a great.
Well, thank you, sir.
So let's talk about what got you interested in making movies. Like, when did the inspiration to become an actor? I read that you became an actor a little bit later in life. What inspired you to get into filmmaking?
Well, I became a professional actor later in life. I was 27. But before that, when I was in the service, I got out of the service when I was 21, and I had already made family, had a baby, had a wife, and I was raised as a factory worker. So I got all the service, and I went right into the factory. Always, my heart wanting, just pleading, my spirit to just to be an actor, and of course, with a wife and a baby to support, that was that at the time I thought was an impossibility. But and the reason why I wanted to be an actor is because it was the only thing that I wanted to do. It's the only thing I wanted to do. And it was absolutely the only thing that I was good at. I've had a number of jobs, and please forgive me, the employers that have employed me, but I've always been a half-ass employee. I've always done a lick and a promise. And sometimes I tried very hard to do these jobs, but I just didn't care. I just did, and I tried my best to focus and to concentrate and but I just didn't care. And I was always looking at the clock or whatever and I just couldn't give myself a job that I could care less about. Maybe that's laziness or lack of focus. I know, but the only, when I am performing, I am totally right there. I'm in the moment, and I give it everything that I have. As far as when I was working in the factory before I became a professional actor, I was working during the day and doing theater at night, and I was always performing as an actor. For 6 years, I did that, and I thought, I thought to myself, I'm a stage actor. This is what I do. I think that film is artificial. But my brother, I think you guys know my brother's Martin Sheen, right? Yeah. And he got me an audition on a TV movie called Pretty Boy Floyd. Got me an audition. And and this was 1974. I tried in 1972. Hope I'm not boring you. I tried in 1972 to come out and get my first and last month's rent. I tried to get some kind of foothold in Hollywood. Couldn't do it. I had to go back to the factory. My brother got me this audition in 1974. So I flew out from Ohio. I auditioned for it. And because I was auditioning for my brother's brother, so I certainly looked the part, and I never, no, that's a lie. I was going to say I never had doubts about my talent, but that's a lie. I had, but I felt very secure in that audition what I was doing, and I got the gig, and then it was, like, it was a no-brainer. I took that money that I made from that. I used part of it to join SAG, and I used the rest of it to bring my family out. And and when I got out here, I worked in a factory for another 3 or 4 months until I got a couple more gigs on TV and such, and I've been able to, for all intent and purposes, to make a living since then. There's been some lean times and some great times, but I'm just not cut out to, do, excuse me, I don't know, not that I haven't tried manual labor, yeah.
Well, I think I relate to that because both of us are kind of in the more artistic realm, in our lives, and we both have a ministry background. I write books and things like that.
Oh, okay.
I think that whenever you have that in you, a 9-to-5 job just feels a little bit different. And when you want to create stuff, it's like, even if you're doing a job and then you're creating, all you're thinking about all the time is that creative space. So I really appreciate that, because I think when you're called to do that and it's your passion, you do that. You follow it, and it's so awesome that you are able to recognize, this is what I'm going to do, with my life, and the results have been wonderful. Because when you make a movie, you put something into history, you put something into the universe, and it's there, for all time for people to enjoy. So I think
that's very true. Long after we've cast off this mortal coil, these movies, for better or worse, they live on. And I'm very impressed with you and your brother there, and involved in the ministry and such. For myself, recently, and I've broken this rule, but I made a pledge to myself that I was only going to do positive movies, or at least I wasn't going to do any negative films. And I mean, if you check my resume for the last 10 years, you see that most of them are positive films, faith-based films that I'm very, very proud of. That it puts a message out there into the world that that there's more to this than just this, and I'm proud of that. And I'm a little ashamed of the movies I did that had a negative effect in the world. And thank God, though, I haven't done very much of them. What did Jesus say? Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. As an actor, as anybody, you get so wrapped up in trying to make a living. And then the ego. There's always, when somebody asked you to do a film, I mean, that's a great high. There's 100,000 actors out there will do it for free, and they're offering you money to do this. That's great for the ego, and sometimes maybe I've done things that I'm not all that proud that I've done, but I'm sure God understands that. Just another thing. I hope I'm not being a blabbermouth.
No, not at all.
But I thought about acting, and I was thinking, well, music is a terrific art form, as is writing. And, I thought about acting, though. And I thought, well, maybe that's one of the lesser of the art forms. I believe it's an art form, but then just recently, I've been rethinking that. And I thought, in all of the art forms, that what we are doing as artists is having people realize in themselves, touch in themselves emotions, where they say, basically, I know just how he feels. Oh, I've felt that myself before, and that's what poetry is about. Good writing, good movies, good music, good singing. To touch emotions in us that, we can't quite express ourselves, but they're there and they're ready to be touched. And I'm thinking, in rethinking this, I think that as an actor, and as all of us in the entertainment, and with you guys doing the podcast, that's what I'm about. That's what I've been given, whatever talent I've been given to do that. You know what I mean? Robert Frost, all the great poets, they're doing the same thing, they're doing the same thing. They're touching those emotions. They're bringing them to the surface. So in that, I'm very proud of being an actor. Yeah.
Wonderful. Absolutely. Awesome. So Apocalypse Now and your involvement in it, like an interesting story, the way that kind of went down. We've read about how it came to be. But what's your recollections of filling in for your brother in such an iconic role?
Wow. I was doing a film at the time with Telly Savalas, which was a nice film, I had a nice part in it. It ran the whole movie. The money was good. Telly Savalas was terrific. And I get the word, that my brother had a heart attack, and that Francis Coppola asked me if I could come over. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, if Mr. Savalas lets me out of my contract here, number one, and I'm not coming over as a stand-in or as an extra, I come over with an actor's contract. As far as acting in Apocalypse Now, there are a few places that my children recognize me, but it's the back and the side shots and some place. But I was there for 3 months, and I was drunk the whole time. I mean, I just drunk as hell, and made an ass of myself on a number of occasions. And so that was the 3 months there in Apocalypse Now. I'm not saying it was a blur, but it was very. I was very selfish at the time, and I was very. I was very addicted to booze. I'll get to that story in a minute if I may. Yeah. But so so that experience on Apocalypse Now was pretty much, it was wasted on me. It could have been a marvelous experience, a life-changing experience. But with the voiceover with Apocalypse Now, I was back in Hollywood, and I my alcoholism had gone further down the road. It got worse and worse, and I was a mess. And I had a broken collarbone because I had lost my driver's license, drunken driving, and so I was out on my bicycle. I don't know if you ever ridden the bicycle drunk, but it takes some talent. But I was literally, and I mean this, literally hit by a ton of bricks.
Wow. There
was a forklift coming out of a construction site. It had 2 pallets of bricks on it. And the operator of the forklift couldn't see me. He hit me in my bike. I flipped over the handlebars, broke my collarbone.
Wow.
And I'm thinking later, God's got a sense of humor. Joe, do I have to hit you with a ton of bricks? But so I got this broken collarbone, and I'm a mess. I don't know, if you've been around an alcoholic, but after a while, I mean, they start to, they like ooze, they smell from the booze, And I was going downhill. I mean, I was, and Francis called me, said, can you come up to San Francisco and do the VO for Apocalypse? I said, yeah, sure, I can come up. So so I flew up, got there drunk, They put me up at the hotel. The next morning, I show up at Francis's place up there in San Francisco at his offices, and he had a little paragraph ready for me to do for the voiceover, and I did that. And he said, "Okay, great." He said, "Run and get yourself some breakfast, and I'm going to write a little bit more, and then come back." And I said, "Oh, okay, all right." So I went out, drank a little breakfast, came back, did a little bit more, went out, drank a little breakfast, came back, did a little more, went out, drank, We started, I think, at 9 o'clock in the morning. By 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm a mess. I mean, I cannot, and there were some very intricate Vietnamese words that I just couldn't get my tongue around. And Francis, I call him Francis. Francis got up to my face. I mean, he was this close. And he said, can't you say the words, Joe? Can't you just say the freaking words? Except he didn't say freaking. And I literally felt myself shrink with embarrassment. And I mean, here I was with the most powerful director in the whole world at the time. You know, if I were sober, I would have left that office with at least 2 jobs in the future from this guy, you know? I mean, and I wasted it. So my not only was my physical self gone, but here my whole career pissed in the gutter. When you do this, when you show up drunk for an audition or something, this is a small town Hollywood. They know about it, you know? So I was so humiliated and so embarrassed and so just utterly ashamed of myself. I was ashamed. And that was the last day of my life that I drank.
Wow. That
was it. I woke up the next morning and then, yeah, no more. Yeah. It's hurt me too much. So, you know, anyway, I saw Francis once since then. I crashed an audition that he was having in LA, but I never told him about that. But I if I ever get the opportunity, or hopefully here's the interview about it, but that was the catalyst. That was the step that you know led me on the path of sobriety. They say everybody has their own bottom, and that for me was my bottom. Mm-hmm. And you know, a lot of people maybe, you know, would have continued drinking, but I was blessed. I mean, I've gotten incredible blessings in my life, and that was a great one. I mean, they're all great, but that one, there was no, you know, I knew where that came from, you know. So yeah. Anyway, sorry to go on. You know, one story kind of leads to the other.
No, you know, that ability to find humility, like when we are humbled and we are brought to our knees and we look up and we can find a renewed purpose and a renewed life. Those moments in our life are more memorable than the triumphs sometimes.
Oh, absolutely.
They allow us some triumphs. They
absolutely
allow us those bigger parts. And so
yeah,
always. I was talking to a friend yesterday about humility and the need to be humbled, and so that's fantastic. And you know, since then you've had a great career and you've been sober for so long, and
yeah,
that's an amazing story. So thank you for sharing that and opening it up.
No, my pleasure, my pleasure. You know, and I don't think it's so much that I found humility as humility found me. You know. Yeah, I didn't go looking for it, you know. Yeah, but you know, there's been a number of places along my life, and you know, and I'm an old boy now, and I look back and I see where these stepping stones in grace that I've been able to enjoy and to grow from and to learn from and find joy from. And I've been blessed because I've gotten some clear road marks along the way that, you know, that maybe some other people haven't been as blessed, but we all have a road to travel, you know. We all have a road to travel. I'd like to. I think just another thought, if I may, that as an actor, you know, and when I'm in my 20s, I portray the emotions of and wisdom and wants of someone who's 20. Mm-hmm. And, you know, all the way 30 and 40 and 50 and 60. And now that I'm in my 70s, I portray and exhibit the wants and the feelings and the emotions of somebody in their 70s. And I enjoy that. I mean, I enjoy literally playing my age and bringing into that character the knowledge of what it is to be in my 70s, you know, the same way as I did in my 40s. But I think that at my age now, as a human being, I have more wisdom. I'm wiser. I have a clear path forward about life and death. And I like to portray that on the screen. You know, my kids and nephews and such ask me, you going to retire? Well, you have to work in order to retire from something. So I don't consider acting work, you know. But I think it's very important to portray this age, you know, especially people living longer. And you know, a lot of people my age have fear. Well, every age has fears and wants and ambitions, and it's certainly no different for ones in their 70s. Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, that reminded me, as you were talking about that, from another medium, from music. I don't know if I haven't talked to Michael about it, and I don't know if you've heard it, but Johnny Cash, a couple of years before he passed away, he made a number of albums, and he did a cover of In My Life by the Beatles. And hearing him from that age, from that perspective, you know, the Beatles did that song when they were in their 20s. And, you know, it sounds like a celebration, like a song that would be played at a wedding, you know, In My Life, I love you more, and I've never found anyone like you type situation. But at the end of his life, I believe his wife was either on her deathbed or had already passed away. To hear him sing that song, for the first time, I cried, because his voice, you know, his voice had been hurt by cancer. His life had been coming to an end. You could tell the struggle in singing the notes. And I'm not saying, you know, everyone in their 70s is in that state, but just him, the pain that he felt in singing that song. It means something. It means something different. And I'm glad that, you know, you're still able to bring that, because I think now in your life, like you said, you can bring something to the world, bring something to the screen that you've never brought before, because of the place you're at in your life. So I really
and well said, Jonathan. Yeah. And I'm right there with you with, oh my God, with Johnny Cash. And, you know, I think you're absolutely right with him through the years. Oh, he really got better with age, and man, he just, you know, many times he brought tears to my eyes, you know, that because he wore his emotions on his sleeve, and he was such a incredibly unique performer. You know, somebody I really have learned to appreciate, and I didn't particularly follow him, or I was probably jealous of him, but Elvis Presley. I mean, dear God, man, what an incredible somebody that could speak to your heart, speak to your spirit. Oh man, I just that guy had an incredible gift. Johnny Cash had a gift. You know, I think the Beatles. You know, and I'm not going to dish modern artists now, but I think there's a lot of artists out there that are playing little clubs and locals that are just incredible talents, but aren't getting the showcase that they should get, because you know, rappers, and you know, I don't want to trash rappers, but there's these other voices that are taking up all the space, and there's I don't know, there's very little room left for the true artist out there to find his voice. But you know what? Persevere, and if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. You know, the only thing we can do is the best that we can do, right? You know, so
absolutely, that's all we can do. That's all we can do.
But that was great about Johnny Cash. Thank you for that. you know. I mean, you know, we all seen that Folsom Prison thing, and you know, I mean, how he moved all the those convicts, tough men, you know. And I bet a lot of them were tears to their eyes, you know, when after he played. God bless you.
So we talked about a couple of these things, so I'm going to skip a little bit. We are both fans of Mystery Science Theater 3000. We talked about that earlier. A number of your movies have been, I wouldn't say celebrated by Mystery Science Theater 3000, and their spiritual successor, Riff Tracks, that continues to go on even after the original show was canceled. How do you feel with the relationship between some of your movies with these mediums, and do you watch the the riffed versions of your films ever?
Do you know, I thought, I think there's only 2 or 3. I don't know, but I was disappointed with Soul Taker, but because when Soul Taker was released, it won Best Science Fiction Film. It got rave reviews in Variety and a number of the entertainment presses. And, Mystery Science Theater, they bastardized it and cut it up and laughed at it, you know. For I think it came out in the 90s, I think late 80s, early 90s. And for its time, it was a very, very scary movie. And it was, at that time, where with a horror movie, you had the time as a filmmaker to let the plot develop, which that movie did. There was a lot of words. There were a lot of talking in that movie. I think it's a solid movie. People, I think, just don't have the patience today to watch it. And my patience now, I'm no different. I love that eye candy. And so to wait for a story to develop is harder and harder, especially with this younger generation. But it's easy to make fun of anything, and so I understand that. What's sad though is that a lot of people, that is the only experience that they have with Soul Taker, is that cut up version. Soul Taker, when I did Soul Taker, I mean, I've been working ever since. That put me in a place with independent films that people were coming to me instead of me having to go to them, So that film was very, very good to me. With Mystery Science Theater, that other film I did, it was that they crucified. It deserved to be crucified. I forget the name of it now, but I don't. In my opinion, it needed to be crucified. It wasn't very. That was a terrible film, but I don't know. I don't. I never sat every Saturday and watched Mystery Science Theater to know really what films they had there, and having seen them before, Swanguli, you guys watch Swanguli? He does Saturday night. He does Swanguli. He's like this horror guy,
I think I've heard of him.
He's a very funny guy himself. He's out of Chicago. And he does the same thing with, some movies that were terrific. Peter Cushing and those guys back in the day were terrific, and he rips into them. I mean, it's not nearly as does what science fiction theater does, but I think it hurts the film and the message of the film. You want to see a film from beginning, middle to end. And anyway, enough of that. I'll move on. Okay. Yeah.
No, that's totally understandable. Going back to Soul Taker, that movie was really, really, really captivating in not only the subject matter, death, and cheating death and all of those things. But you know, you and I can't recall the name of the other actor.
Bobby Zadar?
Yes. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
He was just frightening, especially when I was younger.
He was frightening in person too.
Oh man, that was, and you and him had a good dynamic, and how you were really looking for love in that movie. And from your past, and you saw the woman and the similarities between the past and everything like that. That's probably my favorite movie of yours. And
wow,
I do,
wow,
because Mystery Science Theater, they do mess with good movies, and it's unfortunate, like you said, that people can't really appreciate the greatness of a movie like Soul Taker was really good. So I'm glad you stuck up for yourself.
Well, God bless you. Thank you for that, Jonathan. I really appreciate that, and I'm really glad that you appreciated Soul Taker. So thank you for that. And just as a sidebar, Bobby Zadar and I became great friends, and we probably did at least 15 movies, probably more together.
Mm-hmm.
And he passed about 6 or 7 years ago, and it's sad, but he was a terrific guy, and you know, he was a terrific actor. I mean, he really was a terrific actor. And it's a shame that he had that face, and most of the time he was hired because of his face, and not because of his his talent, you know. But yeah.
There's something to be said about screen presence, and he knew how to command whatever he was doing, and that's man.
Yeah.
Absolutely great.
So when you think about your film career, what are some of the films that you've made that really spring forth the best memories for you? What are some of the films that you're most proud of? We've talked a little bit about some of the things you really love, but what are your best memories of films?
You know, that's funny. Yeah. And thank you guys for these questions. There's a lot of characters that I really miss. And when it gets down to the last couple of days of shooting that character, and I say it aloud, I say, I'm really going to miss this guy. I really enjoy playing this guy. You know, just, you know, like the old reprobate. There's a movie I did about 6 or 7 years ago called Axe Giant, about, you know, loosely based on the Paul Bunyan legend, you know. But I love playing that old character. You know, I mean, he was just a woods bum, you know, and it was just you know, it was fun. It was fun. I did a thing called Slice of Life. It was a short. What was the shortest for a series? I can't think of the series now. Where I played this it scared me. This incredible, and if you can find, I mean, it's on my IMDb someplace. But Suzanne, oh gosh, I'll think of her name in a minute. But she produced it, and it was because it was very few movies or films. It's funny. A lot of the things that, and I don't watch myself that much, but when I do, oftentimes I surprise myself, which, wow, man, that was pretty good. And then other times where I think I was good, and I said, oh, gosh, I wasn't as good as I thought. I thought I was communicating more. I remember, I don't know, the mind always goes to the disappointments. And I think there's a thing I did called the Fifth Day, a movie out of, I think it's out of Texas. And I thought, oh gosh, and I was really on the producers. I said, please, I just want to see this. I just you know, I thought I did some things that I never did, and I saw it, and in my mind, my performance just kind of laid there. You know, I said, okay, you know, but there's a movie called Fudged Up that I did about 6 months ago that I hope I'm not, but I really want to see that because it's I think it's going to get released in theaters and called Fudged Up, and it's a tongue-in-cheek. I won't give it away, but if you see it or you get an opportunity to see it, you're going to be very surprised and very pleasantly surprised. There's so Dune Point with Bobby Zadar. I love that. Just a pleasure playing off Bob. Dune Point, just great memories, and I loved playing that character. I'm sorry because there's so many, and I'm sure after we finish this podcast, I can name a dozen. I think that, oh wow, and I like, what's interesting is because playing the extremes of an emotion is not difficult for an actor, but playing the everyday emotion, a film I did quite some time ago called Murder-in-Law. I thought it's a terrific little film. Sanford Psycho. I thought I think you said you saw that, Jonathan. I like myself in that. That was just a great fun character to play. But I wish I had my IMDb cooked up and I could tell you. But it's all. It's. Can I say this? No, I won't say.
Yes.
Okay. It's kind of like, I love cherry pie. It's kind of like the worst piece of cherry pie I ever had. It wasn't bad. It's kind of like the movies that I've done, I had a good time. I had a good time. They treat you well, and and where else you just come in and do your stuff and you get to go home. Everybody else has to stay there, and they call you sir and give you a dressing room, treat you nice, So I'm sorry, I'm going on, Jonathan.
No, I was saying that's the reason why I wanted to phrase this question: what springs forth the best memories? Because you can always ask an actor, what is your best movie or what is your most successful movie? But it's all about the memories, really. Like in life, what brings us the best memories? What comes to our mind first, to where we just immediately are able to sit back and think, that was great, that was pleasurable, I made good friends. You mentioned Donald. He's listed as Donald G. Jackson. And
Donald G. Jackson, yeah.
And I know Roller Gator was done by Donald G. Jackson, and there's a lot of roller movies that I saw that you were involved with. You can have fun making movies with people you love and people that mean something to you, and you can walk off the set and say, I enjoyed that. Then hey, that's what it's all about, right? Absolutely.
Absolutely. I do enjoy I do enjoy these faith-based movies because everyone there doesn't have an ulterior motive. They have a clear message that they want to give, and the majority of them are very spiritual people and working for a lot less than they could make in the general market. And I enjoy being in the company of those people. Okay. I just finished a movie and with my great friend Dan Roebuck, and I just was in there for a couple of days. It's called Hail Mary. It's about he's a football coach, I'll say that, but and I just came in, a couple of days, but just the joy of being around those people and such. And we did it in Pennsylvania, and it was just those memories I take with me. You know, I keep them in my heart. And yeah, you're right, Jonathan, Michael. Yeah, that's all there is. You know, you know, you got to think, you know, guys, that you're put in a particular position in life. You're given these incredible blessings that you certainly didn't earn. And it's that you just naturally, you gotta give back. I mean, it's like, you're just a wellspring, whether you're meaning to or not. The joy that you carry in your spirit overflows on those that are around you, that come in contact with you. And that's what I feel with these faith-based movies. And I did a series. We did 63 episodes where I was the host of a series called All Things Catholic. It was by the Sales Media out of New York. The Sales Media, year before last, won Best Christian Station in the country. But anyway, it's All Things Catholic. And I didn't dwell on the Catholic faith. I went out in the 63 episodes looking for good people and what they were doing in the world. And because the Catholics were paying, you know, the Sales Media was paying my way. Mm-hmm. Of course, it was mostly, you know, interviewing with Catholics, but not all Catholics, you know. But just a great, marvelous work that Christians are doing in this world, and you know, thankless for it, just thankless, you know, in some of the incredibly difficult situations that they put themselves in every day, day after day, living in places where there's no TV, there's no place to go to the restroom. You have to walk, you know, 3 miles to get water, you know, and they put themselves there because that's where they find their joy. And in interviewing these people and experiencing their experiences, what they're telling me, it filled me with joy, and it helped me grow as a human being. You know, I think that, I don't know, I think that the power, this incredibly power that film has, that's where I was most, I think, satisfied with, that I just felt just something I just, you know, amplify it and move it on. You know, these beautiful people, give them a showcase to show what they're doing in the world. You know, they won't show themselves. They're not going to brag about themselves, but I'll brag about them, you know. So yeah. I do go on, fellas. I'm sorry.
Okay. No, I'm enjoying this so much. You have no idea. So let's talk about what you mentioned some projects you're involved with now. But let's talk about what you're currently doing. Outside of acting, even what are some of the greatest joys in your life? What sparks your passion and inspires you these days?
Yeah. I think, you know, my children give me great joy. I think that because I don't really have any hobbies, you know. I think it's and I don't mean to sound, you know, but there's a great joy in being alive. Edgar Tolle said when he was realized that he said spend 2 years on a park bench just thanking God for being alive. Just thank you. And I think what grates me, great joy, is being here. Mm-hmm. enjoying my children, and you look at people, look at you guys, and and the magnificence of all of us, how incredibly magnificent we are. And I like to celebrate that with you guys, to celebrate that with my children, with my fellow man. I mean, I think I'd live for that, and yet at the same time, I'm okay being with myself. I'm okay with my own company. If I never acted again, well, that's an impossibility. I act every time I go out the door, but but you know what? Can I relate to you guys an experience that I had?
Sure.
That maybe for your audience, if I could, and I when I had this experience, I didn't share it that much, and I don't know, and then I felt I felt this is something that happened to me for a purpose, just not for me, but for the rest of the world. And I'm going to share this with you as honestly as I can. Okay. I told you earlier, we got time for this?
Sure.
About a 5-minute story?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I had stopped drinking. I never had a drink since the Coppola thing. But, like that seed that falls upon the shallow ground or whatever, that it blooms for a little while. But, okay. But in the years after that, I'd gotten myself involved with some bad habits. And I wasn't hurting anybody else, but I was doing incredible damage to myself and incredible damage to my soul and my spirit. And I was staying up in the Hollywood Hills. I had a nice little efficiency up there, studio we call, but it was nice and great. Anyway, I was up there, and and my weight had gotten really out of control. The day I stopped smoking, I started jogging. And still every day I don't jog anymore, but I walk every day up and down, and and I hadn't that I wasn't doing that. I was doing some not very good stuff to myself, and my spiritual life and my career in life was suffering. And I went to bed one night, and every night, I would ask God to please help me. This particular night, I said, "Dear God, I can't help myself. You got to help me. I can't do it myself." I woke up the next morning in the state of such an incredible joy, incredible love, incredible peace, incredible joy. There are no words that will ever be written by anybody that could describe the incredible joy that I was in and still carry with me into my heart. I couldn't contain it. I got up. I was about 220 pounds at the time. I just living in the Hollywood Hills. I put on a little pair of shorts, a t-shirt, and I just ran through the Hollywood Hills with my arms up in the air, tears just pouring down my face, and I just enjoy. Man, I was just in joy. It was joy. It was unadulterated love and peace and goodness. It was God, man. It was God. And for days after that, because I was crying all the time, and I'm crying now. I mean, crying with tears of joy. And it was during the Lent. So in the Catholic Church, during Lent, all the churches are open. And I would just go into a church, and I'd go into the back pew, and I would just kneel there and cry. And all the old gals of the church thought I was weeping over the way of the cross, which was, but I was just weeping with joy. But there I could get away with it,
Mm-hmm.
It was just filled me with such love, just love. And still, if I maintain that, I mean, there's no way I can maintain that. There's just no way. But I still care. I still have that joy in my heart. And I know that as bad as things may seem to get, or that what's going wrong, or what didn't happen, or what did happen, in my root, I got joy that you can't harm me, that I got such an incredible blessing, and I did nothing for it, nothing. That this incredible blessing, that it's like, it's my, I don't want to say it's my duty now, because I have a free will, but it's my path now to pass that on. Do I lose that path? Do I get off of that path? Of course I do. I'm human. Just man falls 7 times a day, etc. I'm human. But I've realized I and all of us, and you and Michael, we are all so incredibly loved. We are love. Our essence is love. So, I think, like I touched on older, as we get older, and a lot of people that my age are passing into death, crossing over. Then I think that's one of the things as a performer that I need to communicate as a performer, and doing this, that I need to communicate that love, that joy that God is in every one of us, So anyway, I wanted to share that with you guys, because I think it's important now to share that. It wasn't, this miracle, this blessing wasn't given to me just for me to keep quiet about it. So thank you for letting me go on about that. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. That was wonderful. That was encouraging, inspiring. We loved hearing it.
I love the beard, man. Okay. All right. Yeah. Which one's older, you or Michael?
I'm the older one.
John? Michael is old. He's older by 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Yeah. It's good that you guys get along well. That's great. That's great. Yeah. I tell you, I have worked in Texas from El Paso to McAllen, Dallas. I've worked Austin. I've had just great. The people in Texas, their hearts are just so open, and it's always just a joy to work there. I don't talk politics, but just the people. So know that about your state. I mean, it's. I've never been there as a working as an actor, and it's just been a joy. It's always
we love
been great.
We love
okay.
Here. We do. We're a little bit proud of Texas, just a little bit.
Yeah, it should be.
If you're a Texan, you're proud of Texas for sure.
Yeah. And I love you, except when one of your college teams plays Ohio State, then I got it. But other than that,
I'll let that slide, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That's quite all right.
I was in Texas working and I had to work after, and everybody knows I'm just a big time Ohio State fan. And that team there in Austin beat Ohio State, and I had to go to work the next day. That was painful. Oh man. I mean, they went out of their way. Everybody, the PAs would come up and rub it into, But, I deserved it. I had it coming, Yeah. But anyway, no, Texas, good place. Good place. Yeah.
Absolutely. Michael, you got the one last question for us there?
Sure.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No. So,
yeah.
Last one. Let's talk about what you're currently doing, any current projects you have.
No, the one after that.
Okay, the one after that. Okay. All right. We talked about that. So when it's all said and done, what do you want your legacy to be to your fans and to the people who love you most?
Wow. That I was a good guy. That I was a good dad. That I was a good brother. I know I wasn't the greatest son to my father, but that I did something with what I learned in life, I think, Yeah. That's it, I don't, we're here so short a time. I mean, we're tentative. We're just passing through,
Mm-hmm.
We're transient. I mean, not tentative, but transient. And I hope that whatever I touched, I left more love than I did, discontent. That's it. But you don't. I don't ask to be remembered, but I ask that love flourishes, and that's a good enough epitaph for me. Yeah. There was one movie I wanted, we were talking, I'm just backtracking a little bit. There was a movie that I did in Texas, El Paso, where I played this guy to this, and the story was taken from a true story where this guy kidnapped a school bus full of children, and, and I played this guy whose son was on this school bus, and I hunt the guy down and I capture him. And for some reason, I was arrested because, and they got me in handcuffs and they're taking me up to the courthouse. And they had about 500. I mean, it was just packed with background artists cheering me. And I don't care if you're acting or it's real. That is such an incredible emotion. All this love pouring out to you. It was whoa. That was, as in a movie. That was. Sometimes when I introduce, I'm doing something for Adult Swim or something, and I'm introduced, and I get all, oh man, that's just breathtaking. Anyway, I digress. But that's it. I mean, that we aren't, like I say, we're just passing through here. We aren't meant to, hang around. We're here to, to move on to whatever else is coming. Yeah. You guys are terrific, man. Thank you for your question.
Great. We enjoyed it so much.
I appreciate you. Yeah.
We appreciate it. We appreciate it so much, and we'll go ahead and say goodbye for the podcast today. But
okay.
We just want to thank you once again, and we will see everybody next time on the Or Umbrella podcast. See you later, guys.
Umbrella.
Bye-bye.
God bless, gentlemen. Thanks for the chat.
Thank you so much. You know, we really appreciate it, man.
Appreciate you guys.